Welcome to Catholic Party for America. I'm A.J. Ballman, relative to John Adams and George Washington. I believe America is going in the wrong direction. In today's program with Brother Alexis, we're going to talk about how America would look and be like without globalist control. Welcome, Brother Alexis.
Thank you, AJ, for having me on this program for Catholic Party America for the 4th of July, our national holiday, in the year of our Lord 2023, to discuss something no one will talk about, and all the talking heads. And as AJ and all our different programs on different channels will emphasize, we're uncontrolled opposition, the real thing, because we are supported by anyone, and we're not Masons, and we don't toe the dominant narrative. We ask you to think about the world around you and measure it according to objective standards. So you have lived in the United States your whole life, assuming you're a Native American like AJ and I, and you see that things are going the wrong way, but how wrong a way is it? I mean, right now in America, does it look like we're going to head into a communist dictatorship?
Yeah, in almost all the liberal states controlled by the Democrats, and even some by Republicans. It's we're heading that way, and we are going so far away from Jesus Christ that we're embracing everything that is evil.
We have a national legislature that is bankrupting the country by spending much more than the government's even taking in.
Mm-hmm.
What future is that for the next generations?
I mean, I'm all for defending Christian nations and helping them put down invaders who are trying to destroy them, but the current legislator is just spending money like there's no problem with our cash flow when we're absolutely broke. We haven't paid off any of our bills. We haven't paid off any of our debts. We're just going further and further in debt. And this is where we are different to these folks. We would first focus on paying off all our debts, then getting back into the black, then also setting up a special fund so it doesn't come out of the treasury itself to support such actions as, helping Christian Ukraine defend itself, then switch and do what we're supposed to do. And when we promised we would be the defenders of Armenia after the First World War, we would do that, and we would have a special fund set up with money that is excess of what we've saved put into that fund so we could do these military operations to help these people.
Unfortunately, Americans vote either Republican or Democrat, and both they become psychopathic robbers of the treasury. It's like, how much can I rob in the 4-year zone there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What was it? It was either one of the presidents, a Republican president or something. It's like, theft is illegal unless you're working for the government.
And the current state of affairs is not just the problem with Congress, even judges. I mean, what rights do you have if a judge can take it all away? And if all the other judges agree with them, then you don't have rights.
Yeah.
That's not what founding fathers ever intended.
So Right now, the judges are also part of the problem in creating policy and almost implementing policy when they are supposed to be impartial and not be policymakers. They are supposed to uphold and defend the law, not create the law on the fly or unjust laws on the fly and implement it. That is not their job. That is the job of the legislator.
Then we have the crooked politicians in Washington sending money to states to implement an agenda in the state that's contrary to citizens' values and Christian faith.
Yeah, so we have we have that problem where they're sending money to support things that are unchristian, gay rights, trans rights, and forcing Christians to submit to these mafia. It's literally a mafia who are not even of 1% of the population. That's how much power these crooked anti-Christian politicians give to these organizations that force Christians to deny the faith, to literally burn incense to foreign gods.
You even have, satanic clubs at your school, but don't have a Bible club. That's bigoted, The public schools have been overrun by cultural Marxists, teachers who think that they have the right to take your children away from you. Oregon is doing that.
Yeah.
If the teacher in your public school says that little Annie Sue is little Johnny, Johnny Mark, and you disagree, you can go to prison and your children can be taken away from you at the word of the teacher. Yeah. And we have someone sitting in the office of the White House that says, your children belong to the teachers. They don't belong to you. Mm-hmm. The Democratic Party, let's start with the Democratic Party. It's really the Marxist Party now.
Yeah. The Democrat Party of old, were of the southern states, was taken over by the Marxist Socialist Party of America. I believe it was right around the turn of the 1900s. And ever since then, they started to implement their Marxist ideology, and we see it in everything they touch, everything they say, everything they try to pass. It is 100% Karl Marx and Engels.
And they start by trying to corrupt the morals of the youth. They're a party that actually has recruited 5,000 pedophiles to run for office. The sitting president's own son is a serial pervert, a serial pedophile, a serial sex trafficker. The whole political elite of our country have been to Epstein's Island, Trump included. These people are sick and twisted. You would, if they weren't in office and you knew what they were into, you wouldn't let them near your children.
Yeah.
Why should people be voting for two parties like this? I mean, the Republican Party have done anything in the last 40 years to stop the decline of the country?
They've done absolutely nothing. They have shown their colors, especially this year during what they call Pride Month, where they actually do not oppose the gay transsexual revolution. They support it.
I've seen lots of Republican accounts on social media say absurd things like the following: it doesn't matter what kind of sex you have, just don't force it on my children. Well, that's a really twisted statement. Mm-hmm. You mean you don't care whether the person is, likes raping women and strangling them to death during a sex act, as long as he doesn't show that to your children? Is that what you're saying? You don't care that he has 4 wives and uses them as sex slaves, as long as he doesn't do your children? So that's the relativization the Republicans do. But, the Republicans were the first party to have a Speaker of the House who was a pedophile.
Oh,
That's true. Mm-hmm. Then we don't even talk about the strange sexualities and allegations about Barack Obama. Or the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, whose husband was caught with an illegal immigrant doing strange things at night in underwear. So if you vote those kind of people to run your nation, you're really doing the same thing the Germans did in 1932.
uh-huh. Yeah, you're voting you're voting for them, putting them in power, looking the other way and thinking, oh, they're gonna save our country, like the Germans thought of Hitler and his party, and it started out looking great. All the depression going on in Germany ended. Things looked up until it was time for the globalists who controlled Hitler to flip the switch and show them the real party they've put into power.
For the past, who could have been president. Excuse me. Excuse me. Someone's trying to teleheckle me right during the show.
Okay, so yeah, while he's fixing that, hopefully don't lose connection here. So yeah, the Republicans showed a good face saying, "Oh, look at us, we're gonna fight the system, fight the globalists, vote for us." Same type of spiel Adolf Hitler and his party told the Germans. And for a while it worked until it was time for them to strip off the mask and show what they're really about. And that is true of, at least it was starting to happen, I think 2 years ago, when they were just slowly itching out their support for that gay Fox News guy Ruben. Then all of a sudden they really ripped the mask off this year and showed their true identity.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Fox is run by a Pilgrim Society member who's not even an American citizen.
Yeah.
Why a non-American citizen is allowed to own one of the biggest stations in the United States is the very first thing that's wrong with America. Foreigners should not be allowed to own corporations that are major corporations in the United States, especially media corporations.
Yeah.
And then there's the problem with the deep state. I mean, do our elected officials even run the United States anymore?
They haven't ran it in a long time.
And these narratives that are used to control us, they're all turning up to be fake, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Um,
So what people fail to realize, because, well, they're not told the truth about what's going on, and they're so let's see, controlled and taken over that they no longer can think for themselves. And so they no longer think for themselves. They no longer actually look and want to study what is really going on. And and for some odd reason, someone who controls the search has been helping us at Catholic Party for America and Order Militaris Radio TV and finding these books and research to uncover what is going on. I don't know. I mean, It's just,
You're a good searcher, AJ. You're a good searcher. But you know, I think what a lot of people is they don't realize who's behind most of their personal problems.
yeah,
You can't pay your bills because money's not worth what it used to be because they're creating money to spend as they will and enrich all their friends in Washington. So that drains the value of your money. I remember when you could buy a loaf of bread for $1. Now it's like $4.50 in
yeah.
many states. Gasoline. I remember when gasoline was 52 cents. What is gasoline now in Kansas, AJ? It's like,
Oh, we saw it at 3.30 a gallon, but in Dodge City alone, it was over $6.
your electrical bills,
Oh yeah,
clothing. You
yeah.
buy appliances, they fall apart. Where's all the quality controls? I remember growing up in the 70s, I was in my teenage years. You'd have Ralph Nader come on, he'd sue companies for selling fraudulent products, low quality products. If anyone made an appliance that didn't last 5 years, I mean, the government would come after you. There were price controls. You couldn't charge whatever you want of customers for electricity or for gas or heating. It was just, you couldn't change the price of gasoline at your station without permission of the government.
Yeah,
That's just going to the wind.
yeah,
You couldn't run people out of town by selling products at a lower price like Walmart has done and destroyed the small towns of across America.
yeah.
We can do that. So we'll start with Patton. If Patton wasn't assassinated, it's pretty clear he was. What do you think he would have done? How he would have changed America
So
if he had become president?
yeah, so we can know for right off the bat, Russia would not have been a problem. It would either been conquered by Patton himself, or he would know how to literally control and keep them at bay. And um, our military would not be woke. It would be respected by our allies and feared by our enemies. Our military standards would be up past excellence. All the uniforms would be spotless and perfect. All the machinery would work and not fail.
What would he have? Would he have allowed the deep state to grow, the CIA to be founded?
Um, if he lived and would have known what was going on that he started to learn about, he would have put it into it.
Mhm. And then the other great American, MacArthur, he at the end of his life realized how corrupt the government was, and there was talk to elect him president too, until they really went after him for that. How would
Yeah,
he have changed America? Would it have been a Vietnam?
there would not have been a Vietnam War. He was opposed to it, not because of the peace movement or pacifism movement. He knew he knew Asia and the Pacific well. From his youth, growing up with his father, traveling over there, learning their customs and everything, America would actually have a true Asian Pacific policy that would work. And we would not have a communist China. We would not have left Czech and 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 left them for dead. Also, North Korea would not be an issue because it would have been united with the South, and the South government would control the entire island peninsula. And back at home, our youth would not disrespect our country. They would honor our military because both of them would probably make sure that they would get a proper military education and mandatory service in the armed forces, like over in Asia and Europe.
These two great men, if they were presidents, means if we didn't have a CIA, there would have never been an assassination of President Kennedy. There would have never been a Vietnam War. There would never have been a Mujahideen movement in Afghanistan. There would have never been a 9/11. And there would have never been 3 years of locking you in your house. I can't say why because we're going to share this video on YouTube, but you know what I mean. A whole generation, my generation wouldn't have lived in fear of being bombed off the face of the planet by nuclear weapons at any moment.
Yeah.
And there would never been a sexual revolution in the 60s, which was pushed by the CIA and Hollywood, because Hollywood's just a front for the CIA and the deep state. We would be in a lot better situation now. We would be a strong, vibrant Christian country that wouldn't be hated around the world for all kinds of atrocities committed by the deep state. Respected and loved, and with a very vibrant industries, because people would be buying our products from all around the world. They wouldn't be getting from China and slave labor. And so it's so unimaginable what the world could have been if there was a Christian party back in the 40s or 30s and people voted it. I think most people thought the Democratic Party was a Christian party because generally speaking, it wooed all the Christian leaders. But instead of imbibing the Democrat Party with Christian values, the Democratic Party imbibed the Christian churches with Marxist values.
Yeah.
And do you see this going all along? Listen carefully to anyone telling you to vote for Trump or DeSantis. I mean, Republican accounts and the mostly packet. These, you try to talk to them about politics, they're like mujahideen, they're like Islamic fundamentalists. You cannot discuss with them. They already have preconceived ideas. They're paid to go on and give a message, and they'll block you or say nasty things to you if you try to even discuss them on the issues of, wait a moment. Has the Republican Party done anything for us in the last 40 years except surrender? I mean, Trump, they say Trump's going to save America. He is the ultimate surrenderer of America. He won the election and then he surrendered. What is your vote worth if you give it to a guy who's going to say, I'm going to surrender?
And he was the one who shut down the country.
Yeah, he allowed it to get shut down. He allowed cities to get burnt to the ground. He wouldn't send in the military. Oh, he's a peaceful man. Well, the president's there to protect you, not I'll let your cities get burnt down and say, oh, we should be peaceful. That's not peace. Peace is restoring the just order. Peace is not the absence of violence. This is a Marxist doctrine. Peace is not the absence of violence. Peace is the absence of injustice. And when people pick up knives, guns, bombs, tanks, and planes in any way, in any part, to promote injustice, peace can only be restored through just violence. And that's why justice is opposed to pacifism, because pacifism says nonviolence. The absurdity of it is someone I know personally who holds the following opinion, that if a man breaks into your house and is raping your wife and you have a gun, it is wrong for you to use that gun. It is better to let him rape your wife. Now, this is an opinion of a Christian, but it's obviously a Marxist in complete thought. That's not Christianity. That's not even sanity. Even a pagan realizes that if I have a gun and you're touching my wife, you're not going to get past the finger because you're going to have a bullet in your head before that happens. And that's perfectly just. There's nothing wrong about it. And if you have a member of any kind of religion that thinks that wrong, you're part of a false religion. And that's not an American value. That on top. So, it's great to have gun rights. Everyone's like, gun rights, gun rights. Is the NRA really a conservative organization? What do they want to do with those gun rights?
Absolutely nothing. I mean, oh, we got guns, and when Black Lives Matter, Antifa, and those, and then right when they entered actual states where you could use a gun to take down those bad guys, there's calls like, "Don't you do it? Don't you do it? Don't you do it?"
Yeah, the NRA actually said not to use your guns. The NRA exists, in my opinion, for one purpose only: to promote the sales of guns.
Uh-huh.
They're back to the gun industry. I learned this in I think it was 2018 or 2017. I went to the NRA convention to promote Christian apostles, helping Christians overseas. Not a blessed one person. One person was interested in helping Christians overseas. So why do you own guns? Is it the Second Amendment? No, they're not interested in the Second Amendment. What's the purpose of the Second Amendment? The right to bear arms is to defend your rights, all of your rights, your whole Christian way of life, and the true meaning of this Constitution. It's not so that you can go hunting and promote gun sales to the gun industry. That's not what the Second Amendment is about. And it's not about your use of guns, it's your community's use of guns and organizing a militia to defend your town. You have a right in the Constitution to that. Are the judges going to tolerate that? Are the politicians going to tolerate that? Because no, then they couldn't manipulate you. They couldn't say, we need more security. You need digital ID. You cannot buy a bottle of water without showing your ID tag and make sure that you have received the medication we told you to take, but you don't need any identification at all if you want to vote. You don't even know to speak English.
Uh-huh.
You have to realize you're being totally manipulated by a completely corrupt, immoral, and anti-Christian political class. And if you're listening to anyone who won't say that, if you're listening to anyone who says you should vote one of the two parties, you're being deceived. That person is an operator for this corrupt class. He is just one of their front men. No matter if he is a minister, a rabbi, an imam, a monk, any kind of public speaker whatsoever, influencer or what, they're complete fake frauds.
Yeah.
And you got to wake up to that. And America, Catholic Party of America, AJ, you've been doing programs, and I've been on with you now like 2 years,
Uh-huh.
And we've been telling people to wake up. And you haven't yet woken up. You're still plugged into that matrix and you are headed down. You're an absolute free fall. All you can do is saying, what Biden is doing is wrong. Trump will save us. Trump will never oppose the deep state. His family has served Skull and Bones, the founders of the deep state, for a century. That guy would no more defend you against the deep state than Beelzebub would defend you against Lucifer. And, he's even, anyone who actually is more Christian than himself, like DeSantis, he comes out and viciously attacks with absolutely false accusations. I'm not saying DeSantis is the savior of America. I don't think he is. I think he's skull and bones too. He went to Yale. So, you have to wake up. Your average fellow native Christian in your town would be more trustworthy as president of the United States than any of these scum. And this is an important point where Americans have to realize, you don't need the leaders that are given to you on television. You have people in your town who could lead just as well, better. Why? Because they're honest people. They're Christian believers. They have families. They're not going to destroy the country because they have children and they have grandchildren and they want a country that's good for them. People who don't have children, been married 4 or 5 times and raising their children to be boys when they're really girls, or getting sex changes, or advocating that for your children, they're not interested in the future of America unless it's a broken, destroyed, and dysfunctional America. And no sane person wants that. Only a psychopath wants that.
Yeah. So, and I know that this is just a minor thing. Either Patton nor MacArthur would want the change of the War Department. Why? Because once we changed it to defense, we have never won a war. We have only fought till compromise to lose.
Mhm. Which is not only a disgrace, it's a waste of American blood. Why should you ask any young man or young woman to serve in the U.S. military and not intend to win the war? That's fraud. You should risk your life, but we don't intend to win the war.
Yeah.
You know. So how can Americans solve this problem, AJ?
First, unplug from the Republican Party, unplug from the Democratic Party, unplug from the Masonic, Libertarian, and Independent parties, because those are still controlled opposition. And if you're going to use the internet, I'm going to suggest some books for you to read. Read them. Once it clicks, and your eyes are open finally to the truth, then I want you to go to our Catholic Party for America website and read it. Then I want you to send in your questionnaire. We'll have it checked. But when we email you to, you know, getting help and stuff, I don't want you to go away and disappear like all the others. Because I'm homebound, I'm disabled. I can't create the machinery that makes this thing run. I need trustworthy people that can do this to build the machinery and get it all in working order. So that there is really a true party out there for actual God-fearing Americans.
And it's not difficult. Organizing a party begins in your hometown, your home neighborhood, your friends. They probably all agree with everything we've said in this program. So you organize them to run for office in your town until you have people that think like that. Now, I had a concrete experience of how easy this is when I was in Texas in March, and I gave a talk on Christian politics to a small gathering. Everyone was in absolute fascination and agreement with the idea of the Catholic Party of America, except one guy. The first thing he said is, "Brother, I have a friend in the CIA, and I really didn't want to come today, but he told me, who are you going to be? Who's giving the talk?" Brother Alexis Bell. And he said, "Oh, I want to know more about him. Please go to that talk." He was the only person opposed to a Christian party. He would say, "Oh, it would never work." He went the lengths to try to convince everyone during the conference I was giving not to pay any attention to me. And well, they don't know me in that town. I came there once. Anything happened? No, they all listened to this guy. So why is the CIA intimidated by the idea of a Catholic Party of America? And then you ask yourself, what is the prudent thing to do? Keep voting for the parties the CIA wants you to vote for?
Uh-huh. Yeah, so with that reaction, you should all, by now, once you see this video and heard it, be like, oh, the CIA hates this party. That's all the approval I need.
Mhm. So the next election's coming up in town. Start your town. Don't think of running a presidential candidate. But go for the town councilors, go for the Board of Education, go for the water board, the inspectors, the police, the judge, any municipal office. Have all good Christians run together. You don't even have to tell everyone that you're going to be the Christian party. But once you get in power, you declare your party. And then you start fighting this process of destruction point by point on every little thing. And you'll have the whole town behind you. You will have such support because you're just doing what we all Christians have the grace of God already to do, which is common sense. And as soon as you do common sense things, people are going to rally to you. But if you sit around watching television, watching social media, and just going, shouldn't be that way. This is horrible. Someone should do something about it. You're no different than, someone who's plugged into the Matrix or is on an animation machine in a hospital. You're totally lifeless. And that is where the globalists want you to stay. When you step out of your house and go down the street and sit at a table without anyone having cell phones or computers on and talk about taking your time back for Christ, that's what they can't control, and that is what is the only thing that's going to defeat them.
So we'll end it right here. So happy Independence Day to everybody, and stay safe with the firecrackers. Don't blow your hands off.
And if you haven't yet had your barbecue, tell everyone about this video and start the conversation around the hamburgers and hot dogs, because this is the day to talk about this. And you will see that 90% of the people at the table agree with you right off the bat.
Yep. God save the Republic.
God save the Republic. And happy 4th.